What kind of tools do I need to turn a wood bowl? Hi, I'm Kent and welcome to Turn a Wood Bowl. Today we're going to cover the topic of what tools do you need when you're turning wood bowls. I've got to tell you, this is a super common question. I get this very often, especially obviously from people that are just starting out. What kind of tools do I need? It's a great question, but wow, is it loaded. There are a lot of things we need to cover when we address this, and there's no one size fits all. So I'm going to try to discuss this in such a way that you can decide what works best for you. All right, so what are some of the aspects and things we need to think about? One of the big ones is budget. If you have a very limited budget, you're going to want to do certain things a certain way. If the budget isn't so big of a concern for you, you can do things a little bit differently. Another big factor is, what are your goals for wood turning? Now, as you know, with my channel and with my website, Turn a Wood Bowl, I focus on turning wood bowls. And there's nothing wrong with turning other things, but I personally love turning wood bowls and sharing that with everyone. Now, if you want to turn a wide array of different wood turning projects, maybe spindle work and other things of that nature, that's also going to play into your equation as far as what tools you're going to want to purchase and things of that nature. You're going to want some things in addition to tools that you would use for turning a wood bowl. The third thing that we need to take into account, and this is very personal and you need to answer this question yourself, is what is your aptitude? What is your ability to follow through? Are you the kind of person that gets excited about a certain topic and then you drop it in a few days? Or are you the type of person that sees something that interests you, learns about it, digs in, and goes hog wild on it and basically stays focused on it for a long period of time? Or something in the middle of that? You need to be honest with yourself and answer that question, because that's going to play a big factor in what you purchase. Because there's no point of purchasing a whole bunch of equipment if you find that you may just lose interest in this in a couple months. All right, with all that in mind, let's go ahead and jump into talking about the details. All right, let's start off by talking about the people that might not be so committed initially. Maybe you're not sure, maybe you're curious, but you're not certain this is something that you want to be doing and commit to buying a lot of equipment. So what I would highly recommend, I would recommend finding somebody local to you that you can go experience the process of turning with them. Let them show you how to turn. Let them guide you and turn a few things so that you either get excited about it or you decide that, I didn't really care for that. If you go that route, you're not going to be in it for very much as far as expense and equipment and things of that nature, and you won't have that kind of regret if you buy something and you really don't like it. So that's the best thing to do, and actually that's how I learned. I found a small group that meets every week. I went once, I turned a bowl. It was a pretty basic little bowl, but it turned out and I was hooked. I went every week for years on end, and I still go and visit them, and it's the best experience, and that's how you learn from others and things of that nature. But they're going to let you use their equipment, their lathe, their tools, their safety equipment, things of that nature, and they may require you to chip in or purchase a few small things, but it won't be the major commitment as if you were to set this up at home on your own. So find that. If you can't find anybody, check with the AAW, that's the American Association of Wood Turners, or the wood turning group in your country or your region, and see if they can find a local club or somewhat local club or group near you that you can go meet with, maybe go sit in on one of their meetings, talk to some of the people, and get to meet somebody that way. That's a great way to learn, and wood turners are really fantastic at sharing their skills with one another. The other thing you can check into are maker spaces. Lots of larger cities have maker spaces where you can rent a space and you can work on a lathe. A lot of times they have basic tools that you can use to kind of get some things going. And you may have to, again, you might have to provide a tool or two of your own to bring that to meet your needs, but it doesn't require a big commitment up front. These options give you the opportunity to decide what you want to do without making a big commitment. So you're ready to make a commitment and you want to purchase equipment so that you can turn at home. What is the first thing you need to do? No matter what your commitment level is, even if you want to kind of experiment a little bit, or if you know you want to get into this completely head over heels, you want to get into it, first thing you need, safety equipment. You need good quality safety glasses and you need a face shield. And as far as safety goes, you also need a really good respirator. Now, all of this equipment, I'll have links below in the description. You can check those out. But you have to have good quality safety equipment no matter what. It's probably a good idea to have your own safety equipment, even if you're going to somebody's shop to turn on their lathe and things of that nature. Bring your own safety gear. Obviously, for hygiene reasons, you're going to want your own respirator. And if you eventually get your own equipment at home, you're going to need it anyway. So go ahead and get your own safety equipment and get that started. That's a bare minimum as far as equipment. Now, let's say that you want to purchase tools, but you have a limited budget, or you're kind of still in that curious zone and you're not sure if you really want to stick with this down the road. Or perhaps you're a woodworker and you only need to turn things occasionally. Like maybe you need to make knobs for a cabinet or something of that nature. You're not really into doing a lot of turning projects. Well, a great option are carbide scrapers. Carbide scrapers are very simple. They stay sharp for a very long time. And when they get dull, you can loosen up the tip and rotate it to another sharp point. You can use that. If you're going to turn bowls, you're going to need a flat scraper and a round scraper. The flat is used to shape the outside of the bowl, and the round is used to shape the inside of the bowl. Now, if you've watched me turn on my other videos, you know that I don't turn with carbide scrapers. I turn with traditional bowl gouges. There's nothing wrong with carbide scrapers. They are introduced into the wood at a 90-degree angle, so they're doing more tearing of the wood fibers than they are cutting. You will get a better cut with a bowl gouge than you will with a scraper. Now, I get this question a lot when people ask me in comments and things of that nature, that people that use scrapers, they'll say, well, you're kind of a purist, you just like doing things the traditional way with a bowl gouge. And quite honestly, that's not the case. The bowl gouge, I hate to say it, it is a better cut and a better finish. And I know I'm going to get comments about that, but it really is a better quality cut and you're going to get a better finish. Plus, you're going to have the ability to control the tool in ways that you can do things with it that you're not going to be able to do with scrapers. With that being said, now, if you're just dabbling and you're just kind of curious, scrapers are a great way to go. Or if you only are doing a little bit of turning occasionally and you do like a lot more woodworking or something of that nature, scrapers are a great way to go. The other big advantage of them is because they're self-sharpened and you basically just rotate them to another sharp spot, you don't have to have a sharpening station when you want to make these sharp again. So they're relatively expensive to purchase initially, but they last a lot longer and you don't have to have an additional sharpening station. So there are advantages to them. No matter what your budget is, you're going to need to attach the bowl blank to the lathe one way or the other. Two very affordable ways to do that are the faceplate and the spur drive center. The spur drive center can be placed right into the headstock and it holds the blank end to end. The faceplate basically gets to attach to a blank and then that could be threaded onto the headstock. Either way, this is how I attach my bowl blanks to the lathe. There are a few other ways. Check out my video on 3 different ways to attach a bowl blank to the lathe. You can learn a little bit more about that. But essentially, you're going to need some device to attach the bowl blank to the lathe. A lot of the lathes will come with faceplates, so you may not have to purchase that. You just want to check into that. A bare minimum for turning wood bowls traditionally is a 1/2-inch bowl gouge. Now, you can turn an entire bowl with just this gouge. You can rough out the exterior of a rough bowl blank, and you can turn it and refine it and shape it all with this one bowl gouge. If you'd like to see that done, check out my video all about turning without a chuck, which is also going to play into how much money you spend on a chuck. You don't actually have to buy a 4-jaw chuck, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But check out that video. You're going to want to see that. I turn an entire bowl with just this one bowl gouge. Now, this is the bowl gouge that's a great kind of go-to medium bowl gouge. And by the way, I put a 55-degree swept back bevel on mine. You can have whatever bevel you want. Also, check out my video on what bevel is the best bevel. When you have the bowl gouge, you basically have to, at the same time, get a sharpening system or sharpening station of some sort. This is a one-way sharpening jig on a slow grinder. And what I do with this is I essentially can shape with the 80 grit CBN wheel that I have on the left, or I can sharpen with the 180 grit CBN wheel that I have on the right. And this system basically takes care of keeping my bowl gouge sharp for the entire process. Anything I need to do, I can do it with this system. Check out my tool sharpening for wood bowl turning eCOURSE to learn all about how to shape and sharpen all of the tools needed for turning a wood bowl. Now, like I said earlier, you don't have to have a 4-jaw chuck to turn a wood bowl. But if you're going to turn more than a few wood bowls, a 4-jaw chuck is going to be a really good purchase. These are not cheap, but you're going to want to get good quality 4-jaw chuck. You're going to want to make sure that it has dovetails on the inside and the outside so that it grips. And when you learn how to turn a tenon, you can check out my video on turning tenons, you're going to want to make an angled dovetail for that 4-jaw chuck and make sure that it matches that pretty closely so you get a good grip on it. This makes turning wood bowls super efficient and very easy. It makes it, well, I shouldn't say easy, it doesn't do it for you, but it's convenient to be able to grip it and to hold the bowl blank as you're turning with a 4-jaw chuck. Again, you don't have to do that, and check out that video of turning a wood bowl without a chuck. When you shape the tenon or the mortise recess on the bottom of the bowl that goes into the 4-jaw chuck, you need to make that dovetailed angle. I like to do it with a detail spindle gouge. These are pretty inexpensive, and it's just a matter of shaping that tip so it's got a kind of a little bit more pointed end on it, so I can get in there and make a really nice clean dovetail cut. Now, you don't have to use this. There are dedicated tenon scrapers. This shape is designed so that you can actually cut the top of the shoulder and the tenon angle all in one shot for scraping. If you like doing mortises or recessed areas in the bottom of your bowl, there are dedicated scrapers for that as well, and you can scrape out that dovetail angle perfectly every time with this little scraper. You could also scrape the tenon and the mortise with a small parting tool. Although this gets a little bit trickier, it's possible to do. Like I said, my preference is the detail spindle gouge. You don't need all 4 of these. You need to use whatever one works best for you to make what you like to do. So those are the basic equipment items that you're going to need to turn a wood bowl, and of course you can expand them from there. Like for instance, I have a smaller 3/8 inch bowl gouge and I have a 5/8 inch bowl gouge. This is for more refined cuts or finishing cuts. This is for roughing out material quicker. I also have a 5/8 inch micro bevel. This has a different bevel angle on it. Again, you can check that out in the tool sharpening eCOURSE, but this is designed for specific needs when I'm turning a bowl. I can turn a bowl without this, but this makes it a little bit easier. So I have a variety of other bowl gouges. These are things you can add as you progress and as you get more into turning wood bowls, but you don't have to have a lot. Essentially, you're going to need a lathe, you're going to need a bowl gouge and a sharpening station. And just like the bowl gouges, you might find that you want different sized jaws for your 4-jaw chuck. Now, you could buy one chuck and change out the jaws. You're only going to do that a few dozen times before you get bored with it and realize it's not very efficient, and you're going to start losing little screws and things like that. So if you can afford it, a couple different sizes based on what you turn and what you need is really convenient. But again, these are options that you can add later. Now, the only thing we haven't discussed is the lathe. The lathe is going to probably be the most expensive element of your equipment setup, and you need to determine what's going to work best for you. Now, the biggest factor when turning wood bowls is going to be the swing of the lathe itself. How far is the distance between the headstock and the rails or the ways of the bed? That's going to dictate how big of a bowl blank you can attach to the lathe and how big of a bowl you can make. Now, you don't have to make big bowls. You can make nice sized bowls with a benchtop lathe, and actually Jet has a really nice lathe. Their 1221 variable speed lathe is a great lathe to start out with. It gives you the ability to put it in a relatively small space, and you can try out all sorts of different things turning wise. As a matter of fact, I had that lathe for a while before I stepped up to the lathe that I have now. Now, if you know what you want, if you know that you want to make 12-inch bowls or 16-inch bowls and you've got the budget for it, then go get the lathe that you want and don't skimp. Get the sized motor that you want. You want to get a good powerful motor that's going to be able to keep up with you and turn the bowls that you want. But this is one where you're going to want to spend some time and decide what works best or what fits best with you. If you want more information about the lathes, check out my article on the lathes. I've got a review on my website. Go to turnawoodbowl.com/lathe, and you can check out there some of the different things you need to think about when choosing a lathe. So the lathe, of course, is a big one. The safety equipment, that's a no-brainer, and it doesn't matter what the cost is. It's not super expensive, but that's priceless compared to, protecting your body. That's what we need to put that first. And then if you're going to go the traditional route with bowl gouges and that, the next most expensive thing is going to be your sharpening station. And then if you want, you add the 4-jaw chuck. At that point, you have all the equipment you need to turn a wood bowl. But like I said from the beginning, you can start off relatively inexpensive or free by finding a mentor, finding a club that you can go and borrow their equipment, experience it a little bit, and get your feet wet and decide if you like this, if you want to get into it, and then you can slowly start purchasing your equipment. I would start with your safety equipment. If you're going to go into turning with traditional tools, buy a bowl gouge, and at the same time buy your sharpening system. And you can do that. Even if you're turning on somebody else's lathe, you can have your own bowl gouge and your own sharpening station, especially if you know that eventually you're going to get your own lathe and you're going to work up to that. I would recommend getting the sharpening station before you buy the lathe, because guess what? If you buy a lathe and you have a bowl gouge, you've got maybe 10 minutes of turning time on that bowl, on the lathe, before that bowl gouge is dull. And that's assuming you bought it and it's got a really sharp, ready to use edge on it. So you're going to need that sharpening station. So really the sharpening station, and as a matter of fact, that's how I bought mine. I bought my sharpening station before I bought my lathe. And I kind of got familiar with all those aspects. And I was using my bowl gouges down at the turning club, and then I've come back here. So by the time I brought my lathe into the equation, I pretty much had everything else already set up. And that's a great way to be able to do it. I know that's not possible for everybody, but there's all sorts of different things, and there's so many different variables. This is really a personal choice and a personal decision you need to make. I'm hoping that this video has helped guide you a little bit and helped open your mind to think of some new options and ways of thinking about how you want to set up your particular turning shop and what you want to do. One other thing that just popped into mind is kind of be wary of the kits that are out there. There's a lot of tool companies or tool stores that sell kind of turning kits, and they've got a wide variety of different, very inexpensive tools that do a variety of different things. Unfortunately, if you're going to be turning wood bowls, there's maybe 1 or 2 tools in there that you're really going to be using. So you're going to be left with a bunch of tools that you're probably not going to use. So kind of stay away from those. It's not a great way to go. It looks really good because it's kind of affordable and you get a whole bunch of tools and you think it's going to be great. None of the tools are that great. Instead, save your money, buy a really good quality bowl gouge and a sharpening system, and then you're going to be set. You're going to be able to do 90% of all of your turning with just that bowl gouge, and you're going to need a couple other small tools like we talked about, the one to shape the tenon and things of that nature. But all in all, you don't need a lot of tools to turn a wood bowl. And once you get more into it, you're going to realize that it would be nice to have this tool or this other piece of equipment. And if you're in the position to do that, then go ahead and do that. All right, guys, I hope this video has helped, and I hope you liked it. If you have, do me a huge favor, click that like button, subscribe, click that bell, all those good things. Leave me a comment below. Let me know if you're starting out, and let me know if this has helped answer some of those questions you've had as far as what equipment do you need to start turning wood bowls. All right, until next time, like I always like to say, happy turning.